Hello, everybody. I'm Andy Cooper.
And I'm Colin Tucker in a field, as you can see.
Yeah, you
Very nice.
camping?
No, I think I'm past all that. It's just a day trip, don't worry.
Anyway, it's show 18. We're getting very much into the summer season now.
Yeah, we are. And we had some lovely country, summery English music there from Eric and Joy Foxley and various groups they've been part of or leading.
Yeah, what a rich background. We'll hear more about that when we speak to them later.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, so first guest, it's co-presenter John Chambers is prancing around in fields, I think, in hills. Could be behind you.
Well, yeah. He's not actually prancing, don't worry. You won't have to readjust your sets. But John's followed by Lynn Goulding, who is actually doing a song that's kind of about the environment. So that's quite appropriate and quite timely as well, of course.
Yeah, from one of our local trios. And then we've got John McCormack, who's bombing off to California, California.
Yeah, COVID California sounds like a little town, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But sadly, it isn't. But he's followed by our first guest, who is actually Joy Foxley, singing on her own, and she's singing, obviously, as you'd expect from her, a traditional song.
Okay, and then we're having in the feature slot, we've got the Morrises talking about Morris dancing.
Yeah, Morris on. Morris on was a title of
Yeah.
an album, wasn't it? Anyway, moving on. Jim Dunn comes along. No, I said gin Dunn, but actually that might be appropriate because gin might be one of the drinks he mentions in his song there. So perhaps I was slipping of the tongue there.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's another John Ledbury, who's singing about John.
Okay, and a traditional song which I suspect you're all going to know and sing along with. And after John Ledbury is Mick Pearce, who of course is one of the co-producers of this show and works very hard behind the scenes doing stuff with the videos that I don't understand about, but makes it all listenable and watchable and consequential and so on. That's great. So Mick's doing a song that's kind of about Ireland or from Ireland. So listen out for that one.
And then we're finishing off with our guest Jeremy Galgut, who writes his own songs, and he's got a rather wonderful song talking about the coastline in the northeast.
Northumberland, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was interested to hear him talk about that. And of course, we'll talk about it with him in a few minutes' time. But first, let's have our first song. And it's from John Chambers.
Hello again, everyone. This is a beautiful song which we sang for Ainsley and Enid as a tribute when they were 80. And it was sung again this recently at Ainsley's funeral. Befitting of a man who, like many of us, loved the outdoors and the wildlife. It's a beautiful song called Come by the Hills in the key of E, which I hope you can play along with, but certainly sing along with this beautiful song. Come by the hills to the land where fancy is free, and stand where the peaks meet the sky and the lochs meet the sea, where the rivers run clear and the bracken is gold in the sun, and the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. Come by the hills to the land where life is a song, and sing while the birds fill the air with their joy all day long, where the trees sway in time and even the breeze swings in tune, and the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. legends remain, and stories of old fill our hearts and yet may come again, where our past has been lost and the future has still to be won, and the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. Come by the hills to the land we fancy is free, and stand where the peaks meet the sky and the lochs meet the sea, where the rivers run clear and the bracken is gold in the sun, and the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. I hope you enjoyed singing along with that and hopefully playing along with it. Enjoy the rest of the show, as I always say, and take care. Nice to see you all. Bye for now.
Hi, Make It Mend It, Wear It Out by Coop Boys and Simpson. Growing up in hard times on the wrong side of the tracks means you're often taking shortcuts and you're always looking back. But though you're running barefoot, tracing dreams down dead-end streets, you remember what your mama said about the way to make ends meet. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. Where my old man learned his trade, they made things that would last. They would temper future visions with the knowledge of the past. If something broke or wore out, you know they'd feel no shame, 'cause they took pride in using skills to make it good again. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. Now the watchword is disposable and plastics rule the day. And if something now gets broken, well, you can easily throw it away. But when the wells all dry up and the mines are all worked out, you'll see this house start falling, hear the poor and hungry shout. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. Now politicians tell you they're both green and left and right. They can see the problem clearly, they can understand our plight. But if greed's the only motive, a chance for all to fill their purse, how can things expand forever? You know that bubble's gonna burst. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. You gotta make it, mend it, wear it out, make it do or do without. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight I'm going to sing It Never Rains in Southern California, written and sung by Albert Hammond in 1972. I didn't realise that Albert Hammond is a British subject, born in Gibraltar in 1944, and is still going strong, I think, still writing songs. He's written songs for most of the stars today and yesterday. Anyway, It Never Rains in Southern California. Got on board a West about 7:47. Didn't think before deciding what to do. All that talk of opportunities, TV breaks and movies rang true. Sure rang true. Seems it never rains in Southern California. Seems I've often heard that kind of talk before. It never rains in California, but girls, don't they warn ya? It pours, man, it pours. Out of work, I'm out of my head. Out of self-respect, I'm out of bread. I'm under love, I'm underfed. I wanna go home. It never rains in California, but girls, don't they warn ya? It pours, man, it pours. Will you tell the folks back home when Eddie made it? Had offers but don't know which ones to take. Please don't tell them how you found me. Don't tell them how you found me. Give me a break. Give me a break. Seems it never rains in Southern California. Seems I've often heard that kind of talk before. It never rains in California, but girls, don't they warn ya? It pours, man, it pours. It pours, man, it pours. It never rains in Southern California.
Hello again, and it's wonderful to welcome Joy and Eric Foxley. And
Well, isn't it just? Yeah.
yeah,
Nice to see you again, Eric and Joy. Lovely to have you here with us. Well, not quite here with us, but somewhere with us. And I gather there's a significant anniversary coming up for you. If you'd like to tell us a bit about it.
So it's our 60th wedding coming up. I came up to Nottingham as a student in 1956 and went to folk dance club at the uni with my accordion. But would you believe I found a young lady who used to teach folk dancing at youth clubs and could do with an accordionist rather than using records. And that was the start, 1956.
Wow.
Married in 1960.
Well, congratulations from us. That's brilliant news. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Well, everything's on hold because of the lockdown. We had great plans for parties with our friends and parties with our family, but it will be 61 years next year, we hope.
Okay. Yeah.
If we're
sure
all still around.
and we'll do it all again then. Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
That would be good. Yeah. That'd be a lot.
have you been engaging with any music at all during this period, or has it been very quiet?
Just practicing the accordion, really. Dave Martin came round the other day and we had distanced playing on our veranda.
And Dorothy.
But mainly practicing and playing in the street instead of NHS claps.
Yeah.
We've done
Right.
playing and Joy clog dancing on the street.
Excellent.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, it's a dual act for you in two ways, because you've just done the Doors Open music at the start of this show, which was absolutely toe tapping, knee jerking, and all the rest of it. So tell us about the music you played there. And of course, there's more than one band you play in, isn't it?
No, it's only one, and it's called Fred's Folks, but you never know who's going to turn up at a gig, you see. So some of the gigs we have 19 people. One of the tunes was recorded at our Big Bash, which we used to do once a year. So I started playing before I met Joy. My mum ran a folk dance club and they had records, and there were some tunes they didn't have records for. So some old biddy gave this accordion to me and said, "Here, play the one that goes dam dam diddly da dee dee," and so on. And so I just had to learn it. I'd not learned anything before. So that's how it all started. Having got together with Joy and starting to play on the Nottingham scene, I got in a band with no name. We did a broadcast in 1960, and they said, "You've got to have a name for your band." And at that time, it was Goon Show. Everybody daft was called Fred on the Goon Show. So we became Fred's Folks 5 of us, on the spot between the run through and the actual recording.
Yeah. Amazing.
So that's the name, Fred's Folks, and I've been playing ever since.
It's stuck ever since, yeah.
That must have been almost at the start of folk clubs. Was there an official date when the first folk club started?
It was ours. It was our one.
Ours in our living room on Premier Road.
In our flat.
Was the first folk club. And then there was one in the Bohemian Coffee Bar in Nottingham started after that. And then the New Street one.
Yeah, excellent.
The co-op. There was a co-op one too, wasn't there?
Anyway, Joy, you're going to be singing a song for us.
I am.
I think.
Yes.
And it's about Salisbury. Do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, it's just a beautiful tune and a very historic look, I think, at life 200 years ago, maybe. Yeah, they were highwaymen, weren't they? And we learnt, because we were both staunch members of the English Folk Dance and Song Society, we went on these courses in the summer, and it must have been 1960, just after we were married.
Yeah.
We went on one, where?
Barford.
Oh, Barford, yes, Barford. And Bert Lloyd was one of the, people taking part and talking about his life and singing in his very slightly quavery voice. But he was a brilliant raconteur. He'd gone all over Europe. He'd been very taken with Bela Bartok and his music, which was one of the pieces I happened to be learning on the piano at the time, which was just a nice little tune, But he was brilliant, and he is joint editor of the very first collection of English folk songs with Vaughan Williams. And you can get it on eBay now, but it's quite
it's the revised editions come out about 10 years ago with lots of extra songs in it. A much fatter book altogether.
And it's got historic bits about the people where they got the songs from, So Salisbury Plain, I believe, is from West Sussex, where our middle son lives, so it's very folky around there in Horsham. And it was a lady who was too embarrassed to be seen singing the song, I believe, especially if there was a woman around. So she was recorded, I suppose, on her own, just singing, It was great. So it just grabbed me, really. And I think it's a beautiful tune, which I think I've slightly altered, which is really annoying me because I can't remember which bit of the few notes are correct and which aren't. Anyway, there we go.
When the great Sidney Carter was sat on our sofa.
Oh yeah, he's name dropping.
Who wrote?
Oh yeah.
Lord
Well,
of the
that's two
Dance.
names you've dropped.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't worry about singing things exactly as they were. When you sing it, it's your song," he said. Yep.
Quite right.
That's the oral tradition, isn't it? I guess,
Yeah,
It is. It is.
Joy slightly altered it and passing it on through the club. So that'd be nice.
Yeah. They'll find
Okay.
it in the Penguin Songbook.
Shall we hear the song?
Be lovely.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
No, we'll play it. Don't worry.
All right.
For joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, I'm not into this techie stuff.
As I walked over Salisbury Plain, oh, it's there I met a scamping young blade. He kissed me and enticed me so, till along with him I was forced for to go. We came into a public house at last, and there for man and wife we did pass. He called for wine and ale and strong beer, till at length we both to bed did repair. Undress yourself, my darling, said he, undress yourself and come to bed with me. Oh yes, that I will then, said she, if you'll keep all those flash girls away. Those flash girls you need not fear, for you will be safeguarded, my dear. I'll maintain you as some lady so gay, for I'll go a-robbing all on the highway. Early next morning my love he arose, and so nimbly he put on his clothes. Straight for the highway he set sail, and 'twas there he robbed the coaches of the mail. And it's now, my love, in Newgate jail do lie, expecting every moment to die. May the Lord have mercy upon his poor soul, for I think I hear the death bell to toll.
Well, thanks very much, Joy. A saucy song from Salisbury Plain.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's our break, feature slot.
That's right. But before we get to the feature slot, Andy, you and I are not just busy doing this show, as we always are during the week at the moment, but we're also doubly busy because we're involved in organising the Box Jam Festival on the 7th and 8th of August. At the moment, we've been looking at all the artists, and I have to say there's a very good lineup overall, but also particularly appealing, I think, to our regulars. So we do hope you'll want to partake of that festival. And the tickets are now on sale. They're £10 each, and you can get them from We Got Tickets, a company we've used for our tickets. And the link is going to be available from our Facebook page and our website. And that's for all day Saturday. And on the Friday, we've got a bonus with a normal show, including a live special concert from Jill and Bernard Blackwell.
And we've just recorded them, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, so it is pre-recorded, but it's live in the sense that they were there and they did it straight off. And it's on the Garden stage, which is the stage you'll be able to see at the festival on the 8th, with all the live artists. Some of them will be live. It's about 10 live artists, 1 an hour, and lots of videos then of other people, including Andy and Dave and me, ensuring, of course, that we actually get our act together before the deadline and actually record it. But there we are. But there's lots of other people.
So we're going to be introduced now to dancing, Morris dancing from the Morrises. Who are going to tell us a little bit about that.
How very appropriate.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Helen. This is...
I'm Chris Morris.
And we've been asked by Andy and Colin to do a quick talk for you about our connections with the folk dance world, Morris dancing and sword dancing.
Yeah, for me it was dancing with the Sullivan Sword mainly, a Nottingham-based team who danced Yorkshire longsword. We got the name from Joe O'Sullivan, who's a landlord of the Red Lion pub in Cannon Circus, made up of members of the Odos Mummers. Some of you may remember them way back. The Sullivan Sword started in 1975. I started a year later and have been dancing ever since. Some of
Work out how old he might be.
Some of the founder members, Idwal Jones and Phil Hind, who you may know, and Alistair Bloomfield, he's been doing it for many years as well. Alistair
plays quite a lead part in Sullivan's Sword.
Yeah.
To be fair, he books all our events. He plays the fiddle. He's sort of lead musician really, along with Dennis Saby on the piano accordion. So yeah, he has a huge role in Sullivan's Sword.
Yeah, and John Holder, the captain, is our leader. Helen joined as a dancer and musician in '98. For some years ago. For some years, and then again in 2016, just kind of dipped in and out of as with the singing.
Life takes over, and I love the dancing, but other things took over really.
Yeah, the origins of sword dance aren't really known, but I think they're maybe Viking. The metal swords were weaved together to form a lock and lifted into the air to encourage the sun to rise, iron being a magical substance in those days. There's a quick clip coming up showing us dancing in Germany. We go to Sindelfingen every other year with the Lord Conyers in alternate years.
Lord Conyers Morris men, that is, who predominantly Cotswold Morris side, but they also dip into sword dancing and
and we won the Sword Dance Union kind of what we like to call the World Cup in 2018, so we can't be too bad. And if you do fancy having a go, we practice at the Poppy and Pint in Lady Bay every Tuesday. We'll let you know the details if you get in touch with us. Andy will put a link to our website on the email.
A little bit more about the origins of sword dancing and Morris dancing. Myself, I danced with Lean Valley Morris, which were a mixed Cotswold Morris side, but as most of you probably know, there are a whole number of different traditions from the Morris dance world, and there are records dating back to the 15th century regarding all dances really, including longsword dancing. And of course there's the other kind of sword dancing that you're probably aware of is the rapper sword dancing, which sort of comes from, its origins are in Northumberland area, much faster, danced with short flexible swords. Long sword dancing is danced with steel or used to be iron swords. They're probably about 1 metre in length with a wooden handle, and there's also known in some areas as Hilton
Point.
Hilton Point dancing, thanks Chris. But each dance is linked with its own village very often, so the traditions have developed depending on the part of the world that they come from. So Cotswold dancing, for example, that I used to do, we tended to dance to what's called the Bampton tradition. Some people refer to it as hanky dancing, very energetic form of dance, but really enjoyable to do, and really enjoyable to watch. A lot of people think that Morris dancing is an English tradition, and actually it probably isn't. The records dating back to the 15th century show that it probably came from the Moorish tradition, so from the Flemish lands really, and the similar sort of dancing, country dancing, folk dancing, happens all over the world. It's not an English tradition. We've developed our own way, our own dances So in that respect, they're in our tradition, if you like, but it stems from the Moorish period. So yeah, it's interesting, but there is. We're going to finish off. I'm going to finish off with a little story that might entertain you. We hope you've enjoyed our talk. We hope you've enjoyed the video and some of the photos that Chris has put up. But the story goes that back in 1986, I was dancing with Lean Valley Morris. Chris was dancing with Sullivan's, and we were out on a pub tour to celebrate a friend's birthday, July the 22nd, 1986. Chris was in his Sullivan Sword uniform, which at the time was, for him, mustard, corduroy breeches, waistcoat and flat cap, very attractive, woolen socks and Austrian walking shoes. I remember it well.
Yeah, very nice.
My uniform was all white with a blue and yellow baldric and bells round my ankles, and a grey top hat with a blue and yellow ribbon round it. So yeah, we both must have looked extremely attractive that evening. But to cut a long story short, we did find each other quite attractive, and we got together at the Broad Oak in Strelly and the Nelson and Railway in Kimberley. 9 months later, we got married, and we hadn't really given much thought to the relevance of Chris being called Morris until we looked at our wedding certificate, our marriage certificate, after we were married, and they handed us the certificate. And the two witnesses at our wedding were Chris's brother, Terry Morris. He was our first witness. Second witness was Joan Dancer, my mother. So the two surnames next to each other on the wedding certificate were Morris Dancer. So we felt that was a good omen, yeah. And it was a marriage that was meant to be, and I think I'd go along with that, would you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
34 years we've been together now. So we hope you enjoyed our talk. On to the next musician. Bye.
Hello, I'm Anne Sempic, and today I'm talking to Jim Dunn. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Anne. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you again as well. Jim, I think tonight we're talking about your self-penned poem, I've Only Had Three Halves of Bitter. Yeah. Would you like to tell me a bit about that poem, please? Because I think I've heard you sing it as a song.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I originally wrote it as a song, and I realised after a number of years, really, that the song was a bit too jolly for the words, if you see what I mean. Because it has a chorus. I only had 3 halves of bitter, 3 halves of bitter I've had. You know, it's a sort of Irish jiggy type thing, and in actual fact, it's about alcoholism.
Right.
And it actually covers my personal experience, and the person it's about is my mother, believe it or not, and she had a very, very bad, serious drink problem over a period of her life. And the outcome in the end, not of the poem, but of her life, was better than the poem, in as much as we got her sorted out in old age, and she got some control of things and so forth. So it wasn't too bad for the last few years of her life. But this was written when she was really in there. I mean, my parents split after 23 years of marriage. I've got two sisters and a brother who went with my mother at first, but we had to get them away because of her alcoholism, and it was all very, very, very sad and very nasty. And so there's a certain level of feeling in the poem. But as I say, in later life, and we sort of sorted her out, and she had a better end. But it meant that my oldest sister and her husband had only been married a very short time. Myself and my wife, who'd only been married a very short time, had one of the siblings apiece to look after, and then the third one went to my father and my wicked stepmother, an absolute bitch to her, and that only lasted a few weeks, and she ended up living with my father's sister, actually. But anyway, but the thing is about drinking. It's about boozing and the way it affects you, really. So it's fairly serious, I suppose.
It sounds it sounds extremely serious, and I mean it's I mean, clearly that was a hard childhood and early adulthood for you, and I guess it does illustrate the fact that alcoholism can really take its toll on family life. So it's good you could write a poem to help channel your feelings about it.
And the three halves of bitter thing, it was a standing joke with the family. You know, we used to say, "You're drunk, mother, you're drunk." And she always said the same thing. "I've only had three halves of bitter." And she said it just like that. "I've only had three halves of bitter."
Yeah, and it was the other three halves and the other three halves and the other three halves.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, that's very personal revelation from you. Thank you very much indeed. I think all I can say now is that it's over to Jim for three halves of bitter.
Yeah, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
She staggers in the living room, her hair a mess, her lipstick smudged. Says she's done the shopping now around the town all day she's trudged, but why she got such messy hair and every word it has a slur, why did she spill the shopping bags, fall backwards in the easy chair? She says, "I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had." I say to her, "You're drunk, you really look a bloody fool." She says she's not. Why do I speak as if she's still a kid at school? "I've just been shopping now," I say. "I've been around town all bleeding day. I may have had a little drop of single glasses, all I'd say. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had." "Oh yes, you've only had one glass replenished 20 times at least." She answers that she just had three, that I'm a filthy lying beast, but as she speaks she's sliding down, her backside slips from chair to ground, as she has done so many times. In booze our happiness she's drowned. She says, "I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had." And now she'll sleep just where she is. She'll lie there snoring time away. She'd dream her drunken drinking dreams. She'd dream no matter where she lay. Once, young and pretty, I just sigh and look at her and wonder why she drinks this way week after week. It hurts so much to hear her lie. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had. I've only had three halves of bitter. Three halves of bitter I've had.
This is John Barleycorn, a song that I've often regarded as the definitive English folk song, in as far as it was collected in so many totally different forms in different parts of the country from different singers. It's also a song that can be taken on a number of levels. On a spiritual level, you can regard it as about the death and resurrection of the corn god, or on a rather more basic level, you could regard it as a song in praise of beer. Anyway, it's a great song. John Barleycorn. of the West their fortunes for to try. And these three men made a solemn vow John Barleycorn should die. They ploughed, they sowed, they harrowed him in, threw clods all on his head, and then they home rejoicing went, John Barleycorn was dead. And there he lay for a long, long time, until the rains from the heavens did fall. Then little Sir John sprang up his head, and soon amazed them all. They let him stand till the long midsummer, when he was both pale and wan. Then little Sir John grew a long, long beard, and so became a man. Then they hired men with the scythe so sharp that cut him off at the knee. They rolled and they bound him around by the waist, and did serve him most barbarously. They hired men with the sharp pitchforks that pierced him to the heart. But the loader he served him worse than that, for he bound him to a cart. Then they carted him all around the field, until they came unto a barn. And it's there they made a solemn mow of poor John Barleycorn. They hired men with the crabtree sticks that cut him skin from bone. But the miller he served him the worst of all, they ground him between two stones. Then they drowned him in the mashing bin, but he lived to tell the tale. For when he came out, they changed his name, and they called him Homebrewed Ale. You can put your wine into glasses, put your cider into pewter cans, put little Sir John in the nut brown bowl, for he's proved the strongest man.
There's a song called Bonnie Portmore about a house that used to stand on the shores of Loch Ness in Ireland, a place of amazing beauty by all accounts, but it eventually fell into disrepair and ultimate ruin. And the man is saying, if he had it now like he used to, nobody would be able to buy it off him. Sort of a metaphor for not letting hold of things you really like. There's a mention of the ornament tree, which was a big tree, a bit like the major oak, that used to stand on the shores of the loch. And in 1761, if I remember rightly, it blew down in a storm and was eventually taken away to make either pleasure boats to sail on the loch or fighting boats to fight in some war. You shine where you stand, and the more I think on you, oh, the more I think long. If I had you now, as I did once before, all the lords of old England could not purchase Portmore. Oh, bonny Portmore, I am sorry to see, though full destruction of your ornament tree, for it stood by your shores for many's the day, till the long boats from Antrim came to float her away. Oh, bonny Portmore, your birds mournfully weep, saying, where shall we gather? Oh, where shall we sleep? For the oak and the ash, they're all curtained down, and the walls of bonny Portmore are brought down to the ground. Bonny Portmore, fare you well, fare you well, of your far-famed beauty I ever shall tell. And when my last days come, I will lie by your shores, and sweet will my dreams be of bonny Portmore. Oh, bonny Portmore, you shine where you stand, and the more I think on you, oh, the more I think long. If I had you now, as I did once before, all the lords of old England could not purchase Portmore. If I had you now, as I did once before, all the lords of old England could not purchase Portmore. The noise was me dog jumping off the settee behind me.
Hello again, and it's a great pleasure to welcome Jeremy Galgut, who not only is guesting with us tonight, but is also featuring in Fox Jam. Anyway, Colin.
That's right. Nice to see you, Jeremy. And I gather you sometimes turn up at the Carrington, or quite regularly, in fact, where you sing often your own songs, I think. And on Vox Jam, you're going to be one of the live acts on the famous garden stage that people will be seeing when they come up.
Yeah, I've been going to the Carrington for years. I think I first went in about, I think it was 1991 or 92. And it's been, they've been having a virtual session every week. In fact, I attend the virtual ones rather better than I attend the real ones, which it's just easier. You know, you don't have to get in the car, you can just switch on your PC. So, yeah, I generally perform always perform my own songs there, and I've been doing for years. So yeah, good. Fox Jam will be good to get me out into a different virtual site in August. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good.
Yeah. What got you into songwriting? Is it something you've always done?
Yeah, my theory about songwriting is that when you pick up a guitar, which I guess is for most of us is our instrument of choice, either you become a virtuoso on the instrument, or if like me, you realise quite early on you're never going to be a virtuoso on the instrument. You just use it as a tool for songwriting. But yeah, it was always, I don't know why, it was always what I was interested in more than becoming an instrumentalist or a singer or anything like that. It just seemed to be the obvious way to go. So yeah, ever since I was pretty young, I've been writing songs, and you know, there were periods when I was very prolific, not quite so much now, but yeah, that's always been my priority.
I remember you, Jeremy, fronting up the Moose Malloy group with some familiar people in the setup.
Yeah, the usual Beeston mafia in that group. That was an interesting thing to do, because I found usually when I write songs, they're of a kind of acoustic singer-songwritery sort of genre. When I was in the band, because I mean it was a full band with, you know, bass, drums, electric guitar, all that kind of rock type paraphernalia, that I started writing songs of a slightly different type, you know, more designed for the band, and that's it's a good thing, I think, for you to, you know, have to write stuff for a slightly different musical style and something that, you know, you're going to be playing live. We were playing quite a lot quite a while ago, but we were gigging quite regularly in Nottingham. You know, when you're playing against, I say against or with a band, then you have to think about, you know, different things to maybe when you're playing a solo song. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, we recorded an album called Dirty Stories in about, can't remember when it was, 2012 or maybe before that, I can't recall, which was good. I mean, it was it's easier now recording, I think, having been through that. Because once you've been through that, having to record drums and stuff like that, which is really quite complicated. Now, I did a CD last year, just me and Steve on the guitar and a guy called Cookie on vocals, and it was a much more simplified thing, and I enjoyed doing that because it's a much quicker process and an easier one, and probably in some ways suits my songwriting style more.
Well, great, because you've dragooned one of the Beeston Mafia, Steve, into your song tonight, which is Spindrift. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that song?
Yes, Spindrift. I'm not somebody who always writes from like personal experience, so that's an exception really, because every year, except this one actually, but usually I go up to Northumberland with some friends of mine. One, Jim Thornton and Don Mason, who people will know from the Carrington or from other places, and we spent a bit of time walking and drinking and playing and whatever. And Spindrift is about that coast. There's a particular beach between Sea Houses and Bamburgh Castle, which is a lovely stretch of beach. And really, I remember distinctly, we went for a walk along there, which we quite often do. And Spindrift is like that very fine foam you get at the top of a wave. And I remember looking at it, and the sun was shining through it, and there were kind of very tiny and very short-lived rainbows, in effect. You know, you could see that kind of the spectrum of the sun shining through the water, and the song is really about walking along the beach and then playing a session in a pub at the end of the night. So it's a kind of slightly nostalgic look back we haven't been able to do it this year, but look back at walking along the beach and playing. And it is a part of the country I really like.
Yeah, well, I know that bit actually. Been there a couple of times. It's lovely. Always seems very much more deserted than places you get to from here. Or
absolutely, yeah. I think that side of the country. I mean, compared to the north, you know, the Lake District or whatever, which is great, but tends to be a bit crowded. I think the northeast and the beaches are fantastic. I've never been in the sea there. To be honest, we usually go up in February, but even if it was summer, I'm not sure whether I'd want to go into the sea. But the beach is fantastic, and the sea and everything. Yeah, it's great.
Right, well, we're going to capture some of that magic now in the song, and particularly for those who've been there, and I'm tempted to go. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us, Jeremy. It's been great speaking to you.
We'll see you at Voxsham.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Okay, bye then.
The castle comes alive before the dawn. The jackdaw on the ledge was waiting to be born. Her new discovered brothers gather round and call out to the fishermen they should be ocean bound. And sanderlings are skipping down the shore. By the water's edge they shiver like the poor, and for a moment hesitate and stare at spindrift hanging high upon the air. Beware uncertain skies above the bay. Like mercenaries they're changing their colours by the day. The wild and distant storm pretends to sleep. The sun is making promises it's never gonna keep. You wonder what these miracles are for. The rainbows last a minute, then are dead forevermore. Seagulls start to cry as if they care. And spindrifts hanging high upon the air. In the pub at Sea Houses it's closing time, but some old friends like you and me think the bell is just a sign that instruments need tuning and music needs to start. All the bars are stage and each man plays his part. At 2 o'clock they sing their final song. The chords are falling off their fingers and the words are wrong. And outside in the distance it's still there, the spindrift hanging high upon the air. Spindrift hanging high upon the air.
Well, there we are. What a great song from Jeremy to finish the show with.
Tremendous, evocative, those images of the spray through the waves.
That's right. And I do know that stretch of coast, not terribly well, but we've been there a couple of times and it really is lovely there. Quite bleak in some ways. But anyway, there we are. We've come to the end of another show.
We have.
And what a great show it was. We had some great guests. Joy Foxley, or Eric and Joy doing the music at the beginning, and Joy singing on her own, and then Jeremy, as we've just heard.
Yeah, and thanks also to the Morrises for their feature on Morrising.
Absolutely. I know we can't get enough of that joke, really, can we? I'm sure they're fed up with it. But, and the fact that Helen's maiden name was Dancer. What was it about? Yeah, on the marriage certificate it was Morris Dancer. I think it's priceless. Great. Thank you anyway to Helen and Chris.
It's obviously worked well.
Yes. And we've had some lovely guests. So thanks to the guests. Thanks to our regulars who've performed. Thank you very much.
And do join us again next week when we
have as guests. Well, actually, it's a bit of a surprise. It could be a surprise to us as well. Let's see.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
We will indeed see you next week with a full program, whoever it is.
Bye.
Bye now.